the New York Knicks. I'm back, rocking in New York. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, episode 535. We are joined by special guest today, Jake Fischer, whose book just dropped. It's called Built to Lose, How the NBA's Tanking Era Changed the League Forever. How you doing, Jake?
Doing well. That was an awesome intro package you guys have. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little more about, your title may say it all, but can you tell us a little more about the book?
Yeah, so I'm from Philly originally, but I was going to school in Boston and started my career at Slam Magazine right around the time that Sam Hinkie took over in Philadelphia. And, people forget the Celtics traded KG and Paul Pierce to Brooklyn the same night that Hinkie traded Drew Holiday to New Orleans. And there was a lot of analytical-minded executives coming to power on the league. Rob Hennigan in Orlando, Ryan McDonough in Phoenix, David Griffin in Cleveland, that were all trying to tank. It wasn't just Philly. They were all trying to be bad on purpose to get higher lottery odds. That 2014 draft that was considered to be the best class since 2003 with Joel Embiid and Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker, all the way down to, it was a 7-player draft with your guy Julius Randle. So it definitely felt like a period that I owe my career to from having those conversations, and the book kind of is a nice way to cap off all the reporting I've done over the last 8 years.
That's awesome. So by the way, for those listening, we will cover Knicks Hawks. We're going to do this segment, then we're going to cover Knicks Hawks and the agony that we're going through right now.
We figured we'd start it on a lighter note for once.
Yeah, we're going to start a little bit lighter note, and they can go into the goddamn.
Listen, I'll tell you guys, I saw on my walk back to my apartment here in Williamsburg in Brooklyn, as we were just talking about before the air, I saw a Hawks flag outside of a window, which I never thought I would see in New York. So
wow,
you guys need all the help you can get in Game 6.
I appreciate the fact that you immediately set that building on fire. We will not turn you in.
I was really hoping you were going to say I saw a Hawks player drinking at the bar down the block.
Yeah.
But
I thought you were going to say I identified I saw the one Brooklyn Net fan. There's one in the entire. So let me ask you, what was your takeaway on, did you like, I guess you wrote about all this, but do you like the Hinkie method of tanking? What do you think about the process?
Yeah, I think it's interesting for, pretty much every team that isn't New York and LA. Obviously, we're about to see this summer how the Knicks factor into the free agent superstar conversation with this new ownership group, not ownership group, management group, and Tibbs now in place. But traditionally, any market outside of Brooklyn, New York, and LA, the most direct path to getting superstars is through the draft. And in this new league we're in right now, where it's an arms race and every single contender is stockpiling all-star after all-star after all-star, the greatest starting point to do so for Milwaukee or Detroit or Orlando or you name it, it's to play the lottery odds and hope a guy falls to you or you get in the positioning to take that guy and he can change your franchise around for the next decade. I think, with the book, I call it like an anecdotal history of a bunch of different case studies. Hinkie's version, I think, is by far obviously the most brazen, bald, you name it. But you had other situations that were, like Boston, like I mentioned, they only really were bad for 1 year. They get Marcus Smart. Then the next year, they make that trade for Isaiah Thomas. They're right back in the playoffs in 2015. But then you see teams like Sacramento, who they're all over the book. Everyone knows how chaotic, the Kings have seemed to be. But I've got crazy new details. That's kind of my selling pitch for the book that I've got. I talked to over 300 people for this, agents, players, coaches, executives, to give all new storytelling. And the Kings are kind of a cautionary tale of how to not be bad enough, where they've never been able. Obviously, they got De'Aaron Fox, and hopefully that'll be the piece. But De'Aaron Fox was fifth. Like the Kings have missed the playoffs now for 15 straight years because they've never truly bottomed out to get that franchise-changing guy. So it's definitely, I think, a warranted strategy where you see Philly is the 1 seed and Phoenix. They didn't think it'd be Devin Booker, but you pair him with the number 1 pick, DeAndre Ayton, and all-stars then attract all-stars, and Chris Paul comes, and now they're potentially on their way to the second round, vanquishing the Lakers. So I think the strategy has clear dividends.
So with Sacramento in particular, have you uncovered that Vlade Divac is not a genius?
Well, the crazy thing that happened in Sacramento was Vivek had kind of like a carousel of people in his ear. He first started off with Pete D'Alessandro and Chris Mullin, and he used them to engineer Michael Malone's exit, who was the head coach he hired before all those guys. I had this crazy scene in the book where Malone's coaching staff is out to lunch in Vegas on the Strip at Summer League 2014. And who walks in 6 months before Michael Malone gets fired? As they're walking out the restaurant, Vivek walks in with George Karl, who's like going to replace him. They bring in Vlade, like you mentioned, before, basically to push Pete D'Alessandro out. And the craziest thing of all, at a certain point, they ended up having Vlade and Peja Stojakovic as their 1 and 2 in their basketball operations. And those guys were the least experienced guys in the entire front office in terms of having professional basketball, decision-making experience. So, yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence they've kind of been, chasing their own tail for a decade plus.
Why do you think their strategies? What have they done wrong in the tanking strategy?
I think tanking. What Hinkie got right is that you got to if you're going to make this plan, you got to stick to your formula. Like as much, I think across the board team building, like the Knicks are seeing this right now. It's all about mitigating unforeseen variables. Players are going to get hurt. A guy you think isn't going to be, good or whatever, like Julius Randle becoming a legitimate MVP candidate changes the calculus of this Knicks, decision-making moving forward, right?
Right.
I think Sacramento, they never had a direct path. They just kept bringing in new coaches. DeMarcus Cousins was a huge factor. I mean, he fell to them at 5 in 2010, partially due to, the interdisciplinary, whatever you want to call it, issues that were, popped up at Kentucky. And I really do think that played a factor there too. Like Nick Stauskas and Jimmer Fredette were 2 lottery picks that were supposed to be supplementing him. And Boogie just, goaded them and, really berated those guys sometimes in practice and didn't even give them a chance to find their footing. So I think it was a combination of all the different, the musical chairs, like I just mentioned, in the front office versus also DeMarcus being a difficult guy to build around.
I mean, it's a tough thing because you put all your chips in this one season, to this one draft. You get a top 5 pick. You get a guy like DeMarcus Cousins. In theory, it could be a real star to build around. And he ends up being a little bit too volatile. Obviously has injuries. Lots of things go wrong. But this whole trust the process thing, it's a good idea, but you have to nail the right guy. And it's not that easy to do, even if you get a top 5 pick. Let's just move forward a little bit or move on to something that our audience cares about. Can you tell us more about the Knicks and why they were so bad at tanking?
Well, the first thing they picked to tank they definitely picked the tank in 2018-19 or 2018-19 when the Zion draft, which was the very first year that this whole tenure I talk about in the book from 2012 to 2016, that set the stage for lottery reform that first got exacted in 2019. So first things first, they picked the wrong year to go all in for the lottery balls when they leveled out the odds from 25 to 14%.
Are you sure the Knicks tanked that year? Because I just felt like they were really incompetent on the court. There's a lot. The Knicks. There was the 1 year on Phil Jackson when he was first there where they were clearly tanking.
2015, yes.
When they got Porzingis.
Yes.
Beyond that, I think the Knicks are just they put out, and now obviously this has been a great season, but generally they put out such a bad product year after year, and then right at the end of those seasons they'd be like, "Hey, we're set up for this draft. Let's go on a 3-game winning streak to blow this draft position."
Yes. Well, you're right.
Time after time.
You're right. I think the 18-19 season, if my memory serves correctly, there was expectations that they were going to win 50 games that year. But
they got a third there. They won 17 games that season.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. Flashing back to 2015, I think you could say they did a really good job of getting Porzingis at the time, right? And I think that I get a lot of reporting on Kristaps' draft process where, I mean, actually before the book, I was interning for Sports Illustrated that summer. and I
Oh,
met
wow.
Kristaps at the Red Eye Grill in Midtown, and like sat at a table. He folded his whole 7'3" frame right into this booth, and it was just like a 19-year-old kid who wanted to play in New York. I could tell. It was 2 weeks before the draft, and he wanted to be in New York. And Andy Miller, his representative at the time, ASM Sports, they did everything they could to steer him there too. I mean, I know for a fact that they got a promise from Phil Jackson well before the draft. Around that, he had that pro day out in Vegas at Impact, which at that event, the ASM staffers, they prevented Hinkie from talking to Kristaps. They would not let him even within a vicinity to have a conversation with him, and Philly tried to book him for a workout. They said no. Finally, Miller allowed them to schedule a meeting to get lunch in New York, and then he canceled it as Hinkie was driving up I-95 to basically say he had food poisoning and he couldn't do it. Porzingis did Porzingis's people did everything they could to engineer him getting to New York, and it definitely worked out.
I mean, that's an interesting draft because it was supposed to be a deep draft. And I remember, like, being as a Knicks fan, you were really excited about that draft. But so many of the top players there really did not work out. I mean, obviously you have Towns. The next guy taken, I guess, was Russell. Was Okafor next or Russell next?
It was Russell too.
Russell next.
Yeah.
Two. And Russell, he's been decent, but he really didn't work out in LA. Then Okafor, who could barely had a career. I mean, and the Knicks got lucky there with Porzingis falling, but it's just interesting. Like, you spend a whole season trying to get this guy, and you get like Jahlil Okafor.
Yeah, I think that's why this is such a fascinating concept to me. In the draft overall, I've always covered the draft pretty heavily dating back to 2013 when I kind of got my start at Slam. I think it's so interesting that the fate of franchises in general and also these coaches and executives ultimately come down to risking, which 19-year-old are you going to pick to be, the best person in your company, right? That's like the most bare bones way to look at it. And that's a really precarious notion, right? Like, Kristaps could have been a bust. I mean, look at what is happening with him in Dallas right now. He is obviously, I think every Knicks fan is rubbing their hands together as, he doesn't seem to be the long-term prospect that the Mavericks hoped he would be, and as he looked like he'd be in the bubble. So I think the draft in general, let alone tanking to get in that position, it's such a crapshoot, and that's what makes it entertaining and dramatic, and why it's a television event.
Do you think so? That I think the following 2 years, the Knicks drafted Ntilikina and Kevin Knox, and they both those years, right at the end of those seasons, they won a couple games to basically ruin their draft positions. Mm-hmm. Would you have gone to the Knicks 2 weeks before the season and just like argue with them that you have to force your team to lose games? Like, should a team be purposely trying to lose games to tank?
On the surface, and if you ask Sam Hinkie, he would say yes. But that's a difficult notion as well, because the coaches and the players who are stepping foot onto the court, they are trying to win. And if you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves this year, for example, like, they have this top 4 protected pick that if it falls out of the top 4, it goes to Golden State. And this 2021 draft is considered to be the best draft since 2014 that we talked about in the book. So if they miss out on this pick after a pretty awful year, pretty big missed opportunity, but they won a lot of games down the stretch with new head coach Chris Finch trying to build momentum and chemistry with this young group that they already have to benefit them next season. So I see both sides to it. But if you are a team that doesn't have Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards already in place, yeah, I think it's absolutely in your best interest to lose more games. Look at that 2019 draft that we just talked about, where the Knicks fall down to 3. They fell down below Memphis, right? They were supposed to win 50 games that year too. Then they trade Marc Gasol, they sit Mike Conley, and the Grizzlies lost a handful of games down the stretch run of that season, where now the new lottery odds, as much as they also trimmed the worst team from having 25% chances to the bottom 3 teams have 14, those teams in the middle of the pack now with the 7th best odds, the 8th best odds, the 9th best odds, their odds increased. So it helps teams like Memphis jump up to 2. And now is a 4th drawing where the Lakers, LeBron got hurt that year, and they sat him down the whole stretch of that regular season. They tanked down to 9, which jumps up to 4, and that pick plays a huge role in trading for Anthony Davis. So yes, if you're not trying to build something with your young guys that you've already tanked for, I absolutely think there are massive benefits to losing.
Do you think I guess the change in lottery odds, coupled with the now playing game where the top 10 teams get in, do you think tanking is over in some ways, or is the tanking golden age over basically?
I think the golden age is over, but we're still seeing teams do it. We still saw OKC, Orlando, Detroit, Houston. They all either traded or sat guys down to get to the bottom of these standings, hoping to get a real crack at this top core group in this 2021 class that's so vaunted. And look at all those teams, right? They're all small market groups like we've talked about this whole time. And they don't have any better alternative. James Harden was in Houston for 8 years. They did everything they could to pair him with Dwight Howard, then Chris Paul, then Russell Westbrook. They tailor-made an offense around him. He still wanted to go to Brooklyn. And now Houston, they bottomed out and they're the worst team in the league. I don't think they have any other option.
Mm-hmm.
No,
basketball is also the rare sport where one person can single-handedly change the whole franchise. It's not like that in other sports.
Absolutely.
Right. In baseball, you have Mike Trout. Your Angels can still suck. In basketball, you have LeBron James. You're going to the playoffs.
Exactly. As much
if
as
not the finals, yeah.
Yeah, as much as people say the NFL quarterback is the most impactful, important position in sports, it's not. LeBron making the finals 8 out of the last 10 years or 9 out of the last 10, whatever it is, it's as much a testament to his greatness as it is the agency that one player can have playing both sides of the floor and playing the entire game. You don't have that type of opportunity in any other team sport.
Yeah, Tom Brady would agree with you. Anyway, sorry, I had this. So who do you say are the winners and the losers of the tanking era?
I think the winners are obviously Philly. I mean, as much as people want to make fun or poke holes at Hinkie's strategy and saying he missed out on a lot of guys, I think that was part of his process, pun intended, from the get-go. He wanted as many darts to throw at the dartboard so he could miss on Nerlens and miss on MCW and miss on Jahlil Okafor. But they got Joel Embiid, and they got the number 1 pick that turned into Ben Simmons. And obviously they have his Haka strategy that kind of reared its ugly head the other night. But, I mean, they're the number 1 seed in the East and have a really good shot at making the finals. So I think they're the clear winner. I think Phoenix is a winner too. It took them a little bit of a wayward path to get there. But, talk about luck and unforeseen circumstances. Devin Booker falling to them at 13. I mean, Utah wanted to take him at number 12. I know that for a fact, but Devin refused to work out for them. And that unfortunate misfortune for Utah is, Phoenix's gain, and they have him, and they're there. I think Boston did a really good job before they ultimately ended up kind of stumbling down the stretch here and losing Al Horford and Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. But they built the juggernaut, and they made the conference finals a bunch of years. So I give credit to all 3 of those teams.
Hey, catch your questions. You're around all this stuff. Yeah. Why does a team not draft a guy because he won't work out for them?
I think the big thing in the NBA right now, the second you take these guys, the clock is already ticking on how long you have before they will press the trade to X market. We're already hearing whispers of, will Zion want to go to New York, right, after he has that MSG press conference. So I think if this guy doesn't even want to work out for you, the odds are when he becomes an unrestricted free agent, they're going to be a lot higher chance that he will want to play elsewhere.
I mean, that all makes sense, but I also would think you've got 4 years with this guy to, unless he forces a trade, you have 4 years with this guy to sell your team on him. Who cares what a 19-year-old doesn't want to work out for you? If you think he's good, just draft him. At the same time, I would also counter, I feel like the Knicks are, in particular, Kevin Knox, he worked out for the Knicks. The Knicks were like, oh my God, he's so good in his workout. Do you think teams base too much on the personal workout when you really should just look at how they played against competition?
Yes and no. I think it depends on the situation. I mean, the Sixers were very much considering Dante Exum at number 3 in 2014 when they took Joel Embiid, but this is a new story from the book. They got him to work out one-on-one against Tim Frazier, who was a senior point guard from Penn State at the time. And Tim Frazier beat the crap out of Dante Exum one-on-one, and that ruled him out for Philly at number 3 before they took Embiid. So I think there is a lot of value in those workouts.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a pretty good example. I guess I only think of the examples for the Knicks and just assume that's true for everyone.
Yes. Well, kudos to new management group in place, and hopefully they can continue to not make mistakes like that.
So this was awesome. Thank you. I don't want to take too much of your time. Could you give us one more tidbit from the book that maybe fans don't know about?
Yeah, I think you want to go back to the Dallas Mavericks as we talked about with Kristaps. The Mavericks are the reason Giannis Antetokounmpo is in Milwaukee. Atlanta really wanted to trade up for him in 2013. They had the 17th and the 18th pick, but Dallas they had the 13th pick. They were 2 spots ahead of Milwaukee at 15. Dallas was trying to save cap space for the following summer in 2014. They wanted to make a play at LeBron and Carmelo. They did not want to take another first-round pick that had a guaranteed 4-year contract. So they traded it to Boston, and that was Kelly Olynyk. But the Hawks were dying to get up there and to take Giannis. They brought him in. They flew him, and they stayed at Danny Ferry was the GM at the time. They stayed at his house. He had dinner with his wife and his kids at their kitchen table. They were all in on Giannis. They just couldn't trade up high enough to get him.
Wow, that's rough.
Feel bad for the Hawks. How'd they turn out? I hate them. So thank you so much for joining us. The book sounds great.
Thank you.
So again, it's Built to Lose: How the NBA's Tanking Era Changed the League Forever. And if you want to follow Jake on Twitter, it's Jake L. Fischer. Fischer spelled Fischer. No spaces.
You can get it anywhere books are sold. Amazon, bookshop.org if you want to support a local bookseller. And there's a ton of new information that any NBA fan's gonna love.
Yeah, and then now if you have your vaccine, you can go to a bookstore and buy it in person.
There you go. You go. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
You got it.
Take care.
Awesome.
All right. So, that was good. Another successful interview.
Yes. We're still on?
Yeah. I'm definitely going to pick up that book for the summer, which for the
starts tomorrow night?
Yeah, might be tomorrow.
Holy crap. No, that was an awesome interview. Book sounds great. I don't think, what I find annoying? I read on Twitter some people going like, some people say the Knicks should have tanked this season. I don't know I'm like, is there anyone saying the Knicks should have tanked this season? I mean, I know this thing's not working. We're not winning the title this year. We may not be beating the Hawks, but I don't think anyone's like the Knicks should have tanked this year.
They finished the 4th seed. Like, there's got to be some limit on tanking. Like,
I think it's that strawman argument when people just invent stuff. They're like, there are a lot of people out there saying the Knicks should have tanked this year. There's no one. There's literally no one. It's just the other voice in your head. Please, whatever. So what the hell is wrong with the Knicks?
I mean, I think we said a lot of it last episode. That their starting center is injured. The backup is playing, but he's playing hobbled, and they don't have a point guard. And
stop using facts.
I mean, Atlanta's big. Atlanta's big, man.
So I have a question for you. So I think one of the issues, I mean, beyond those are major issues, the injuries and like just not as much talent. So Tibbs, one of his strategies, you can agree, is that during the regular season, every game, there's 72 games or 82 in a regular season, in a longer season, every game is a playoff game. Mm-hmm. He studies hard. He scouts his opponents. He does everything he can to make sure the Knicks will bring their all in every game. Mm-hmm. And he'll play guys longer minutes. He'll basically treat every game like a playoff game. And then which gets you some extra wins during the regular season, because during the regular season, not everyone does that. Mm-hmm. Like, not all, for game 47 of the season, not every team is willing to go basically to die on the battle, basically, to win that game. Mm-hmm. But Tibbs is willing. Do you think that strategy is helpful or not? And then the other issue really is that strategy comes up against the wall of when you get to the playoffs, everyone else is using that strategy.
I think the strategy helps. I really think the bigger problem is that Atlanta is really good, and the Knicks are not at 100%.
I mean, do you think it's a mistake, though, to squeak out those extra? I guess the argument would have been, especially from the Chicago days, he burnt his guys out by playing them so many minutes. But was anyone really burnt? Are these injuries because guys got is this team anyway worse off for Tibbs' strategy of treating the season like the playoffs?
I may be showing my basketball ignorance here, but I don't understand why it's a huge deal that Tibbs plays guys 39 minutes a game And then I look back at the 90s, and Jordan's playing like 44 minutes a game, 46 minutes a game. Like,
Did he play that for a season?
I'll look it up, Brooke. Stats guy. Where'd Stats guy go?
God damn it, Big Data. What the hell are you?
I mean, but I can tell you that Wilt played 48 and a half minutes a game for an entire season.
Yeah, but I watched those tapes. No one was running. It was just slow motion basketball.
Yeah. Okay. So Jordan played 3 consecutive seasons, 40, 40.4, and 40.2, and he missed 1 game in 3 seasons.
Yeah, I have to say a lot of stuff they do to avoid injuries. I guess it could be helpful. At the same time, these guys are all young people. Like even the older players who are like 28, 29 are relatively young. I guess I don't see the strategy. What the problem is of trying to take the season seriously.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a big deal.
And really, all the injuries the Knicks have, Mitchell Robinson was a freak accident. What else? I mean, like Nerlens Noel being injured. Noel even played that many minutes this year. It's not like he played a crazy amount of minutes. Randall and Barrett, who played the most minutes, like 2 of the most minutes in the NBA, are both healthy and fine. They're just not playing that well in the playoffs.
Yeah, the injured ones are the ones that play less minutes. Anthony says Tibbs doesn't create a play for Randall or Barrett to come off a screen or something, neither Bullock or Quickly or Burks. It does seem like a lot of iso ball going on, like way too much iso ball.
Way too much iso ball. But that's also, I mean, that's not him. I guess that's not him playing too much. I guess that you can't really say that's him. Like his problem is he's not a great offensive coach.
Well, I mean, he's got like 30 other coaches there, right? I think this comes down to not having a point guard.
I mean, you know what? I say he's not a great offensive coach, but he actually got a lot out of this team offensively. Like, I know I just said that, but like the Knicks were one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
And they have no one that's really good at shooting threes, or almost no one. And yet they were like crushing it.
Yeah, we actually said before the season that there's who's going to hit threes. There's no 3-point shooters, and they ended up shooting really good all season. So I don't know.
Yeah, there was a thing about how I was trying to find a thing I saw where like basically he knew through not that it's like a secret, but he went out of his way to really work on 3-point shooting with this team to make them better.
So Zapategos asks, aren't any of you guys worried the Knicks will be worse next year? Everyone keeps saying they'll be better with a lot of cap space, but I'm not confident.
Well, it's hard to be confident as a Knicks fan. Why? So I guess the argument for them being better is that you're assuming Randall can give something similar to this year's performance.
Mm-hmm.
RJ in his 3rd year will be better than his 2nd year.
Mm-hmm.
IQ in his 2nd year will be better than his 1st year. And you're assuming that like they're going to upgrade a little more talent on the roster. Elfrid Payton will not be back. Maybe you have Mitchell Robinson more of the season. In theory, they should be better, but I don't know. I guess I don't know if I don't know if they'll be a 4th seed though. I don't know if the record will reflect a better team because everyone else, like the rest of the NBA, can get better also.
Yeah, well, Philly.
The rest of the East, I mean,
Philly's like super capped out. Philly is what Philly is. They're not going to get better.
Well, I guess Philly is going to still be, in theory, Philly, the Bucks, the Nets will probably still be better.
Mm-hmm.
The Hawks could be better. I mean, they had a much better second half of the season. They could have a better record. And then a team like the Heat could turn it. Like, it's not that easy to basically be the 4th seed again.
Yeah, and
There's
Boston.
nothing guaranteed. I think the Knicks are a playoff team, but how good of a playoff team it really remains a question.
Yeah, and Boston still has a lot of pieces too. So, yeah, you're right. It was also a 3-way tie. So, like, the Knicks theoretically could have been 6th just from a tiebreaker.
Right. I mean, I think we're an 8th seed or better. And they were definitely a better team in the second half than they were in the first half. But you never know. You're right. Randall could play worse. We could see the Randall from the Hawks series and be like, "What the hell? Why did we just sign him to this 4-year deal?" It's hard to. I think this team should be getting better because I have a bunch of young players who are getting better. But when I say bunch of young players, it's really like RJ, IQ, Mitchell Robinson, if he comes back, if he's healthy. There's not like I guess the bunch of young players is overstating it because you can't really count Ntilikina or Knox as being young players. I don't know what I'm going to get from those guys.
Yeah, it's 3 guys.
Right. And then you have You have 2 first-round draft picks. You hope one of those 2 guys ends up being like a solid rotation piece. You have a bunch of cap money, cap space. You're going to use that in some way. You hopefully. It's weird also because you could spend a lot in cap and get nothing, or you could spend very little on a guy like Burks and get someone who's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But all the guys to bring them, they want to bring Burks back, Rose back, Bullock back. They're all going to cost more money than they cost this year. So you don't have as much cap space as you think.
Yeah. Anthony says that the Knicks peaked too early. I don't know if they peaked or it's just they got too hurt.
What do you mean peaked too early?
Well, like they had a 9-game winning streak and they were on fire, and now it seems like they all just stink. So, like, is this them peaking early, or is Atlanta better than everyone gave them credit for? Is it injuries?
The Knicks had a great run at the end of the season. The Atlanta Hawks had a great run at the end of the season with more talent. As good as Tibbs is, the Hawks have been really challenging them on defense, and the Knicks have not been adjusting or hitting their shots. The Hawks also, like the Knicks in the regular season, one of their strategies was they crowded the paint, and they would let guys shoot threes. And in theory, the idea was to let the worst shooters shoot more, but they left a lot of guys open for threes, and I think they had the best 3-point defense in the NBA, but a lot of it was just like letting guys shoot open shots and miss. The Hawks have a lot of good shooters. You can't leave. There's no one to leave open for the Hawks.
Yeah, they have a ton of shooters. Nomad says, can you imagine if the Knicks hit on at least one of those draft picks where they took Frank or Knox?
Oh my God! I mean, oh my God! Yeah, I mean, the Knox one's more painful because there were anyone else they would have taken around then would have been much better. The Frank one, you still like had guys around there that suck also.
Well, and the guys who were good were like kind of surprises.
Around well, you're saying Donovan Mitchell was a surprise.
Yeah. Nobody thought he was going to be that good, or he wouldn't have went 11.
Yeah, I mean, the Utah traded up to get him, and some people thought he was going to be good. But anyway, all the guys taken between Ntilikina and Donovan Mitchell were not good.
Right.
Like it's not like the Knicks missed out. Whereas
it was like Malik Monk, right?
Yeah, Monk, Dennis Smith. Like you're not missing out. Whereas the Kevin Knox draft, everyone but Kevin Knox is good.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have gotten around there either Bridges, McCall or Miles Bridges, huge. You could have gotten Shea, SGA.
Mm-hmm.
You could have gotten who else? Or Porter.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's 5 guys. I think you could have gotten. Maybe it was 4 of the 5 guys are awesome. With McCall probably being Miles Bridges being the worst of them and still being a very good player.
I remember you were livid they didn't take Porter.
Yeah, I just assumed you're not going to take Porter. Then take the safe choice, Mikal Bridges on Phoenix, who looks great now also.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, whatever. So, on the problem with the Hawks is that they have so many guys that could really hurt you on any night. It's great to try to shut down Trey, and maybe you're like, hey, let's have Bullock on Trey. If Bullock covers Trey, who covers Bogdanovich? Who covers him? Because Derrick Rose can't keep up with him. Then you have guys like John Collins who could always go crazy on you. Then coming off the bench, you have like Gallo. Like having Gallo off the bench is ridiculous compared to what the Knicks have.
Maybe they should be starting Burks instead of Rose. I don't know.
I was listening to Bill Simmons made a point that the Knicks should have changed the. He didn't say stick with Alfred, but he said you got to start IQ or just start someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start Derrick Rose because you had something good with Derrick Rose coming off the bench,
mm-hmm.
and now you kind of lost that part.
Yeah,
and it showed of desperation. At the same time, if Randall could just hit his shots, the series looks a lot different.
It does. I like how Capella's talking trash now. Now that they're up 3-1, he was like silent for the first 3 games, and then it takes a lot of balls to start talking trash when you're up 3-1. I mean, that's really going out on a limb there.
He said he's impressed by the Knicks. I don't know if they are physical, but they are trying to play physical. I feel like if they were really physical, I think we'd be more problems than we have. I don't know. Yeah. They're trying to play tough, push our guys and talk shit, but we can do that too. we showed them as soon. Bite me.
Yeah.
The Knicks don't. I don't know if defensively is the issue on this series, though. As much as they haven't given up a crazy amount of points in this series, it's really been their offense has just been terrible.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it is Randall. It's not just Randall's missing shots; he's taking a lot of poor shots. Like he's taking he's purposely he's not driving to the basket enough. He's taking those like hard twos that you shouldn't be taking anyway.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
some guys should become better shooters by just picking better shots. He's like almost deliberately picking the harder shots to take, which on some nights he would hit in the regular season, but he can't be doing that shit in the playoffs.
There's also no ball movement though, so it's kind of like he's trying to create his own shot. The whole thing.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
As good as Derrick Rose is Derrick Rose an amazing distributor?
No, I mean he's closer to it too. I don't know.
Who's a good distributor on this team? Randall?
Randall's probably the best one. I mean,
no one he sets other guys up. No one really sets Randall up. There's a lack of pick and roll in this team. You see, have you seen a lot of pick and roll in the playoffs?
No, but I think that's because Mitch is injured and Noel is hobbled. So like that took away
But do you have to do that? Does the pick and roll have to involve your center?
When Capella's out there, yes.
Yeah, I guess it's tough. You have to get Capella away from the basket. I'm just wondering if maybe like a Rose Randall pick and roll, but then you're right. Capella would be under the basket. Do you think the Knicks should stick Randall at center? Go a small ball lineup.
They might have to try the Randall Toppin thing again. They experimented with it in the fourth quarter of last game. They might have to take another look at that. And I mean, unless.
Or what about it's a pure small ball lineup? Just try that idea. And it'd be interesting to see like a Toppin in the pick and roll would be very interesting. But what about just sticking Randall at center and going like a pure small ball? Burks, IQ, Rose, and Bullock out there with Randall at center.
Try anything. When you're down 3-1, try whatever.
Or if you or stick Frank. Don't have a center. Have Frank at your center. Like just stick Frank out there. At least you have like a guy like he plays some defense. I mean, not really a center. Have Randall at center, but have Frank be your guard, your four. I don't know. Try something to get. I don't know how I guess Frank really adds to the offense, but some kind of small ball thing might make more sense. Maybe if Randall's out there and if Randall's the center, does Capella guard him and does that help?
It might help. It depends if I don't know if Randall will probably have to do more on the perimeter, so maybe that'll open up under the basket for the other big men the Knicks don't have. But then I don't know.
I mean, the problem is it's really, you're right. It's really, that's why I'm watching this and being like, if they had Mitch, it would make such a difference here. There's no lob threat whatsoever, which really kills the drive to the basket, really kills the pick and roll. And you have no offensive rebounding to like Mitch would be, Knicks also are just missing shots, and Mitch is so good at cleaning up around the basket, and they don't have that in this series.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Randall is playing a bad series. He is. But people aren't taking into account that the center and point guard position is devastated right now. So the Hawks can put whoever they want, put as much pressure as they want on Randall the entire series. So it really changed the way the whole game is being played.
Yeah, I mean, can't really argue with that.
All right, let's do a few questions, and then we could do real quick our thoughts on the other series, and then
sure. I'm gonna go to Twitter. Mm-hmm. Anthony writes, "Was starting Rose a mistake in the long run? In my opinion, yes. I said it all along. With no bench production or energy, the Knicks starters have too much pressure to play a perfect game. Rose off the bench used to give the boys a break. What do you think?"
It is true that when the bench comes in now, it's basically just the Burke show, and he did it in game one, but he's not going to do that every game. So it's
right. That kind of killed, maybe one of the reasons that Tibbs was so resistant to not starting Alfred was just the idea of like, I really like what I have with Rose, and that's gone now.
Yeah, he might
They need production from someone else.
Might have to be IQ starting.
Or Burks starting, but yeah, maybe IQ starting. Tristan writes, was I likely dropped on my head as a baby to become a fan of the Knicks and the Maple Leafs?
I mean, I guess it depends when you started becoming a Knicks fan. I mean, we started when they had like a 13-year in a row playoff streak, so it's a little bit different.
I mean, I root for the Knicks, the Mets, and the Jets. I just like I like misery. 4-3-2-1 game time writes, should the Knicks draft a point guard or trade the pick for a point guard? Sexton, Lonzo Ball. I guess, what do you think about the idea of trading? I guess you signed Lonzo in free agency. You can. Would you trade the pick to get? Would you trade a pick to get Sexton? Let's say it'll cost you your 2 first rounders to get Sexton. Is that an overpay for Sexton?
Depends where those are going to fall. If
They're 19 and 20. They're 19 and 21. We know that already.
Oh, that might not be the worst idea. I don't know how good of a point guard you're going to get at 19 and 21.
But really, is Sexton? Do you want to build around an undersized? And I know we're playing an undersized guard right now, but like, do you think Sexton would really be a great guy to build around? And I know he can shoot. Like, he's not bad, but the Cleveland still sucks with him.
It's a talent upgrade. I mean, I feel like you're still in a better position than you were.
But you're really going all in on Sexton, who will be just an extreme defensive liability going forward. Would you rather have Sexton or Lonzo? Lonzo be a better defender, not as talented of a shooter as Sexton, probably not as talented of an offensive player as Sexton.
I was more into Lonzo earlier. His second half of the season was so underwhelming. I'm starting to wonder about him.
Leo Gorham writes, Lonzo's a free agent. Would you sign him? I guess I'm kind of torn also. I don't think the $20 million a year might be worth it for Lonzo.
For the right price.
I'm not all in on him.
Yeah.
You have questions on email?
We have no emails, nyknickspodcast@gmail.com. Just reading some of the questions in the chat. Anthony writes, I'm watching Nets Celtics. It's discussing how much talent they have. If Brooklyn doesn't win a championship, is that the biggest letdown in NBA history?
So they're going to play the Milwaukee Bucks next, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a given they're going to beat the Bucks? Bucks are really, I mean, I get the Nets have a big three and they're like 3 of the most talented offensive players in the NBA. The Bucks have Giannis, they have Milton, they have Drew Holiday. It's not exactly a slouch of a team. That's going to be a great series.
Yeah. I mean, they're up by 16 in the fourth right now. But Boston is missing 3 of their starters. Wouldn't you think they should be up by like 30, 40?
Whatever. I mean, I don't give them, like, I don't care if they're not stomping on them by enough. And Boston's fine. I mean, they're missing, the main guy they're missing is Brown, and that matters. But the Nets are just, even with Brown, the Nets are going to win this series.
Yeah, but I mean, they're missing their starting point guard and center also. So
yeah, but in theory, like the Nets aren't like killing themselves to beat them either. So
yeah,
you don't get extra points for winning by 40.
Yeah, true.
Though I have observed one thing: if Tatum scores 50 points a game, then the Celtics can't be beat. So it's Tatum. If you get the 50 tonight, you win. The Nets have a lot of talent. Do you think they're I think, is their season a failure if they don't win the title? And are they a lock to win the title? What do you think, Jack?
I don't think they're a lock. I think it's probably a failure. Anytime you form a super team and you don't win, it's considered a failure.
Yeah.
By the way, I want every super team to lose.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's the minute you form a super team, you immediately form the most hated team in the NBA.
Do you think 10 years from now we're going to look back on the super team era and like hate the hell out of it?
Do you think the Nets team is the most hated super team in NBA and like in the history of super teams?
I don't know that the Heat team that first year.
Right.
hard
I
to
guess
beat
that my,
that.
my thought is the Nets didn't really have any fans to begin with. So like you'd even have like getting into Miami. Miami has like some following of fans. Like if there were fans there, the Nets never really had a real core group of fans in Brooklyn to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think they're probably second next to that Miami team.
Yeah, you're right. That Miami team, like the not one, not two, not three. You're like, I hope you guys all get.
I mean, it's I think it's kind of
Poison.
shitty that the Heat, I mean that the Nets formed that team, but the Heat were so obnoxious about it.
Yeah, I mean, like no, I guess the Nets were not formed in quite the Harden trade was really obnoxious, but Kyrie and Durant just going there wasn't really obnoxious. It was
Right.
annoying.
Yeah, they didn't like show up fat and start throwing games to get traded like Harden did. But
Right, and you
Yeah.
can't say the big three in Cleveland. You weren't that like. I mean, LeBron did come home, so to speak. Like it wasn't like that hateable. He's wanted to root against LeBron, but it wasn't a hateable team.
right.
So here's a question. I asked this on Facebook. I was curious what your take is. So has this series made you doubt how good Randall really is and his long-term future with the team?
No, I don't think so.
You still think Randall is like he was heading to second team All NBA, maybe third team All NBA. Not second team, probably third team All NBA. Like he had an All-Star season. Do you think he is that good? Basically, what we saw in the regular season is the real Randall.
I do. I think I would rather take a 72 game sample over a 4-game sample.
And then does this change how you view what you want to do with him? The Knicks can just re-up him for one more season and see how it goes. The Knicks can try to commit to him for a 4-year deal on a high but not completely insane contract. Like, do you want 4 years? Would you go 4 years, $125 million for this guy, or 120 or 100?
I
100
would.
million.
So last season, he had a lot of holes in his game, and he really worked on that. He took that to heart. You don't think he's going to do the same for this playoff series?
Oh, you mean like next year comes back like even more ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think he's going to be like, I had a really shitty series. I need to work on this, this, and this. And I think he's going to work on that all summer, and I think he's going to come back even better next season.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one element you have to say is that, like, he's shown that he's a really hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, you work hard, you can get better, basically.
Yeah, he's got a great attitude, and he seems really motivated to make himself better for every season.
So here are your choices, Jay. Do you re-up him this season with the thought that you'll give him a big max at the end of next season? Or do you give him a big contract this offseason?
You give him a big contract this season.
Okay, so you're still all in on him basically right now.
Yeah.
You get a good player at a discount.
Yeah.
Um,
Because if he does work on his game and gets a lot better, you're going to be spending a lot more money a year from now.
That is true. Okay, you want to go around the NBA?
Yeah. So, I want to start with West Coast.
Sure.
All right. So Utah, Memphis.
I mean, Utah's a better team. Like, that's the thing. If you look at, it's funny because, like, if I can look at the series like that and just go, Utah's a flat out better team. It's great that Memphis has given all this effort, but they had no chance of winning the series. But I can't have the outsider perspective of the Knicks. Just look like, if you look at these rosters, Atlanta should definitely win the series. That said, I looked at the roster before the series and said the Knicks are definitely going to win the series.
Well, yeah, Memphis is putting up a good fight. They're a fun young team. I think they're going to be good going forward. But yeah, Utah's just better right now.
Yeah, I don't think that's not the fun series to talk about.
No, Phoenix, LA.
Oh, the fun series to talk about. 2-2. So it went from thinking that, like, so at first you're like, game one, you're like, wow, Phoenix looks really good. They could actually win this. Then the Lakers, I mean, Chris Paul does what he does best in the playoffs, gets injured. But now it's 2-2. Paul's looking better. He's looking a little healthier. And Anthony Davis is not looking that healthy. Is there a shot? They play tonight, right?
Yeah, they're saying he's doubtful for tonight's game.
I don't think LA can beat Phoenix without Anthony Davis. I think Phoenix is up 3-2 tonight, which would be either way this series ends up, I guess I want to see LeBron lose. I think it's funny to see Phoenix lose, but LA's in trouble.
They are in trouble, especially if Davis is out. If Davis is out today and for Game 6, it might be over in 6.
Yeah.
I was thinking
how annoyed is LeBron James right now?
I was thinking LA upgraded in so many of their positions, and now that I'm looking at it, they're all end of their career guys. Like on paper, you're like, oh, Marc Gasol, and then you realize like, yeah, it's like I have 1 year left in my career, Marc Gasol, not. Yeah.
You were so annoyed in the offseason because you thought LA was upgrading so well, and you were like, well, they're pretty much guaranteed the title this year. You were going off about how annoyed you were about LA. And now they're the 7th seed and they may lose in the first round.
It's true. I mean, also LeBron and Davis missed a total of like every game this season, so they are a lower seed than if they played.
Right.
And now they're
they missed so many. I mean, they missed so many games.
Yeah.
I mean, but their roster, you're right. Like, where did they really like? They got Dennis Schroeder was an upgrade.
Yeah,
but
that
the
was
rest
a
of the
clear
roster,
upgrade.
did they really upgrade anywhere? Like Harrell, who I thought was a major upgrade, does not play in the playoffs.
That was the weirdest thing. Yeah, he's getting DNPs, and he was 6th man of the year last year.
Yeah, they really thought like that was the big signing of all of them was the Harrell signing, and Harrell like was not as good as the Clippers hoped in the playoffs last year, but like he was still really good throughout the regular season, and he was a kind of a non-factor this year.
Yeah.
And they got Andre Drummond. Is Drummond really like? Is Phoenix scared of Andre Drummond?
I mean, Drummond's been really exposed. With Davis out, it was his time to shine, and he still looks like garbage.
I think the thing is Andre Drummond is never as good as everyone said he was.
Well, he puts up bloated stats. So, like, if you just look at the box score, you're like, oh god, he got 20 rebounds tonight. Right.
He can put up a lot of bloated stats, but he's like in a game that matters, he's not that good.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. It's just funny. Both teams are hammered by injuries.
Yeah. Well,
like,
Paul,
they're
Paul
both just like who can stay healthy. If Anthony Davis or Chris Paul, let's see who can stay healthy. That will decide the series.
Well, Paul's looking like he's getting back to normal, so that's really bad news for the Lakers.
Which also like if the Phoenix wins this series, who goes to the finals? Like everyone was assuming the Lakers. Well, you know who it might be. It could be the Clippers, or not. Next series.
I think if Paul stays healthy, it's Phoenix. So next series is Denver.
You think Chris Paul? I think league rules prohibit Chris Paul from being healthy throughout the playoffs, and he's never allowed to go to the finals. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, odds are he's not going to be healthy. But anyway, Denver, Portland.
Are you really not going to transition to the to Dallas Clippers?
That's the finale for the West.
Fine.
I'm also going 1, 2, 3, 4.
Fine, whatever. That's a pretty good series. I mean, what's your thought on the series?
That Denver would be crushing if Murray was playing, and it's really even that now that he's not. And I
think at the half, Denver is up. They're playing right now. Denver's up by 3 on Portland. I am surprised, even without Murray, I thought Denver would win this series. Like, I thought they would just flat out win the series. I think I might have picked it in 5 games.
I mean, I haven't even heard of their starting point guard now, so it's a huge downgrade.
Yeah, but I mean, Portland. I mean, I guess they're good. They're a good team. I just feel like their bench is like Carmelo Anthony. There's not a lot in that bench.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, it makes you realize that the playoffs is like half skill, and the other half is just injuries and getting lucky with health.
Well, I just thought I thought Denver had enough even without. So Portland basically they have Dame, who's great. They have CJ, and Norman Powell is playing pretty well for them. But I just thought Denver. Why Aaron Gordon kind of sucks? Is that fair to say?
I mean, he's 1 year away.
I mean, like I thought when they got him from Orlando, I was like, whoa. I mean, they don't have Jamal Murray, but that was a huge move, and they're like, Aaron, go back to Orlando. I mean, he's fine. He's just not as good as. I mean, how bad are things for Denver right now? They are giving pretty decent minutes to Austin Rivers.
Yeah.
A Knicks cast off.
Yeah. He was actually huge the other day.
Yeah. I don't know. Jokic is probably gonna win MVP, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to win this series. I figured this out. They got to win. They got to win 6. Okay, Dallas Clippers. What do you guys think there?
Luka's a little hurt now. They're finished, absolutely finished without Luka. And Mark, your thing froze. I was like, "Are you really getting to Dallas and then freezing?" Yeah, I mean, Porzingis is just an average basketball player. Is that fair? Like, he's mediocre.
I don't think I would trade Dennis Smith to get Porzingis with his contract. Not even I don't think. I would 100% say no if that was to offer. If the Knicks were like, forget Dennis Smith, I guess we don't have him. Let's just say it was like, give us a second-round draft pick from the 2023 draft when you have 30 of those second-round draft picks, and we'll give you Porzingis basically for free. I would say no. That contract is just terrible.
Most teams in the league would rather Hardaway.
Yeah, I would 100% take Hardaway over Porzingis. Hardaway's on a better contract. He's a better player. I also think, can you imagine Tibbs coaching Porzingis? I just don't think.
No.
I don't think Porzingis would play hard enough for Tibbs.
Yeah. So this is where I'm torn. I would like Dallas to lose because Porzingis losing is always funny. But Clippers tried to form a super team, and I want all the super teams to lose. So I don't want either team to win.
Here's a question for you also. If the Atlanta beats the Knicks, but Dallas loses, is Atlanta up on that trade? Trey gets to the second round before Doncic?
No, you'd still want Doncic over Trey 100 times out of 100.
I first of all, I goddamn hate Trey. I think he looks like some goddamn rejected troll doll. But do you think we've also underestimated how good Trey is?
We have, but he's no Doncic.
No,
Doncic's
I completely agree.
Top 5 in the league. Nomad said Porzingis is basically Bargs with a max contract. I think that's fair.
I think that is a great comparison. That is a great comparison. I love that. Thank you. That is awesome. You want that we can end the show on that comp. That was wonderful. Let's go. You want to go to the East?
Sure.
Oh yeah. Who do you think's going to win that series? By the way, so I guess it's Dallas. Unless there's like 17 weeks between series games, so maybe Doncic is better for next game.
Zapatego said Lucas said he feels better. Take that as you will. It's a really close series.
I still think the Clippers are going to win that series.
I think they'll probably eke it out. I don't know. It's like all the games were so lopsided, and the road team won every game. It's such a weird series.
It's a really weird series. It's a really good one, but I'm going to, yeah.
I'll go Dallas just because playoff P losing again is really funny.
Okay. You want to go to the East?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really
Knicks in 7, right?
Knicks in 7, definitely.
Okay.
What else we got? We got Philly,
Washington, Philly. Okay, so what if Embiid's injury? So Embiid got injured last game. Washington won behind the mighty scoring of Robin Lopez.
Who figured out a hook shot.
Who knew?
How different do you think this Knicks series is if they have Robin Lopez?
How different is the Knicks series if they have anyone better than Taj Gibson? I love Taj, but
I always liked Robin Lopez. I was so mad when they got rid of him.
I like the hook shot. Why don't more guys do the hook shot?
I don't know.
Why don't guys master that? Like, that shot just seems like a whatever. Washington, Philly. If Embiid does not play again this series, he probably will. But if he does not play in this series again, does Washington have a chance of coming back?
A small chance. Washington's still super, super thin after Beal and Westbrook. Those two guys are so good. You would still need Tobias or Simmons to have a bad game.
Yeah.
But
I still think
possible.
Washington does not have enough, and I still do not have a lot of faith in playoff Westbrook.
Yeah. I mean, I think they could win another game, push it to 6, but they lose in 6 probably.
I think they're done next game. Okay. Celtics have been eliminated. Do you think they have a shot of beating Brooklyn?
They were down 3 starters. I mean, that's, they were outmatched to begin with, and then they lost 3 starters. So
Tatum only got 32 points tonight. Should the Celtics cut him or just send him to the Knicks?
yeah, probably.
Yeah, Celtics. We'll give you Ntilikina for Tatum, and we'll throw in Knox. Do it now.
Oh, wow. Westbrook was 3 for 19 last game. Yeah, you're not going to win many games like that. And then they actually won. So
Yeah, I don't know how they won that game. I have a question for the Celtics. They got Tatum. They have Jaylen Brown. How quickly can they turn it around?
if they nail another draft pick, very quickly.
But I don't think they draft very high. The Simmons on his podcast made the point that like their only option right now is to trade Marcus Smart because he's the only guy who's expendable who has any trade value.
Yeah, it looks like they got who's their point guard?
Celtics?
Yeah.
Is this Kemba?
Yeah, it looks like they got him 2 minutes after he peaked. Like he looks like he's on a quick trajectory downward, and that's a problem for them.
I've got a strategy for the Celtics. If they want to listen to me, I know I'm not Brad Stevens. Stick Taco Fall at point guard. It'd be worth the price of admission.
And the last series is Miami getting swept by the Bucks.
Yeah. So does Miami have a shot of coming back? Are you surprised with the fact that Miami did not come close?
Yeah, I'm surprised they got spanked that bad. I mean, it was brutal. I mean, the first game was close, and then they just got spanked 3 straight games.
Yeah, the Bucks look really good. I mean, also you replace Bledsoe, the weakest link, with Drew Holiday, an all-star. Makes a big difference.
Heat and 8.
What do you say?
He said heat and 8.
Exactly. I have to think. I don't know. I think the Bucks will give Brooklyn a lot of problems. Brooklyn should still win that series, but I don't know. I was listening also to Simmons, and again, I don't know why I keep going on about Simmons, but I do like his podcast. He's picking Milwaukee to beat the Nets.
Milwaukee's a deep team.
They're very deep. Their bench is pretty good. I mean, I think they have a real chance against the Knicks. Against the Nets.
Yeah, I would say so.
Do you think Durant, Kyrie, and Harden will now have no injury issues the rest of the way? None of them miss a game the rest of the way?
I feel like Kyrie's going to get something. Kyrie gets injured a lot in the playoffs. I think Harden and Durant are going to magically be super healthy, but I think Kyrie will miss a few games.
I mean, it's just so annoying that they're healthy now. They couldn't play together in the regular season, but now we're all healthy.
We said that all season. They're going to rest all season and then come healthy for the playoffs.
I think the 3 of them the other night combined for over 100 points between the 3 of them. It was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. And then if one of them is off, you have Blake. That's great.
Yes. Well, Blake's not that great, though, anymore.
No,
but he's helpful.
The super team era is fun, though. It's really cool.
Why can't the Knicks have a super team?
He'd be like, hey, we drafted these players and, we signed some good free agents. And then all the players are like, nah, we all just want to team up on one team and destroy everything you built all season. And,
yeah.
I guess there's nothing to do about that.
I can't believe I can't believe James Harden got to this team.
I know.
That's the one that doesn't they didn't even have cap space for him and they made it work.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say about the Knicks?
Oh, that's right.
Are we out of time?
Nomad, yeah, we've been out of time. Nomad said, remember the Bucks were going to get Bogdanovich, but they broke the rules by announcing it early and it got taken back.
Yeah. That's the difference between the Knicks winning the series also is Bogdanovich.
And it might be the difference next round, too.
Right. If Milwaukee and Bogdanovich, that would be huge for them against the Nets.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I didn't even remember that.
I think the Knicks in the second round this year if there's a guy anywhere in college or overseas with the last name Bogdanovich, the Knicks should just draft him.
Yeah, why not?
Apparently, just having that last name makes you a pretty good player in the playoffs.
All right, so we are out of time. We will be back probably Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
So
Will it even matter by after tomorrow night? Are the Knicks going to push this to 6?
yes,
Are they winning tomorrow night, Jay?
yes.
What's going to happen? Make your bold predictions for tomorrow night.
Bold prediction: Randall's going to have a normal Randall game.
No. Randall's going to have a triple-double.
Mm-hmm. He's going to have
A triple-double, 42 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, and he's going to rock Atlanta's world.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's going to dunk. He's going to poster Capella at least once that game.
Yeah. He's going to dunk so hard on Capella, Capella's going to lose that blonde hair.
All right, so we'll be back, and then we'll be doing our other podcast, The Brink of Sanity, once the Knicks are finished, which hopefully won't be for a while, but
It'll be months from now the Knicks are finished.
yeah. And we're also going to do some gaming stuff on Twitch, so you could follow us, twitch.tv/crumpledbacon, and you'll get a notification when we go live, and you can join us for all that stuff.
I believe what Jay is saying is that once the Knicks are out of this, we might be doing shows less often. Is that what you're saying, Jay?
I'm saying Knicks shows. We'll be
Knicks
replacing.
will be, no matter what, we'll be doing shows. It just may not be the shows you're looking for.
Right. We will still do the Knicks show, but we might be slipping in the comedy podcast.
A little more often.
Yeah.
We'll need some comedy after this.
Yeah, exactly. We have not been on the Locker Room app. Send us an
Apparently,
email.
that's a popular thing in the podcast world. Have you ever used it, Jay, or do you know what it is?
I do not.
I have not gone on it, but my take is it's kind of like Twitch for podcasts. Like where I think fans can interact with you during the show.
Okay. So,
Not that we have to use it, Jay. I mean, I will take no steps to do anything with technology with our show.
like
I'm just telling you what I think it is. That's all.
like audio, because people are jumping in saying things that will completely destroy.
No, I don't think it's like audio. I think it's probably just like this kind of Twitch format.
Okay. So we
Where
have the
people
chat.
I think probably people can write. You know, actually, I have no idea, Jay. I've not looked into this at all. My guess was that it's the same basic thing as Twitch. But it's a locker room, so there are naked men around.
All right. Lovely.
You want me to look this up, Jay?
What I want is this.
Goodbye, everybody. It's all over. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye.